Hey everyone, hopefully you're all excited as I am for the up and coming release of Mend the Guns, the next expansion for Hearthstone 4. Mend the Guns will make many changes to the game, as well as introduce new features, so it can be a bit confusing to remember all the new stuff we can expect with this expansion. Worry not, the Iron Workshop is coming to the rescue. This video will tell you all you need to know about Mend the Guns and the changes it will introduce into the game. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button and help other people discover it as well. Let's get to it. The first feature that we're going to talk about is fuel. Now, fuel is quite a big deal for Hearthstone 4, considering that this is the first game in the series which had fuel absent from it. And this was a very strange, I would say, decision on part of Paradox. A lot of players at the time when it was announced that we will not have fuel in the game were outraged, and perhaps rightfully so. And Paradox have seemed to have done their U-turn on this issue, and fuel is now back in the game. Now, there are two ways that you can look at this fuel fiasco, if I can call it that. One of them is that perhaps Paradox have done a genuine mistake when it comes to fuel, and when they removed it, they didn't really think that it would cause so much problems down the line. Another way that you can look at it is that perhaps Paradox took out a feature that was present in all the games so far, just so that they can resell it with an expansion and to have a major feature, as it were, that they can resell back to the players. Now, me personally, I would like to give Paradox the benefit of the doubt. I would like to think that Paradox do not work in this mind set that we will just take out features to resell them back to the players. And hopefully that this was just a genuine design mistake in the game. So it's nice to have fuel back, and hopefully this will be the last mistake of this kind in Paradox games. Now, there isn't too much to say about fuel. It's quite self-explanatory. So you'll need fuel to run all of your mechanical units now, your fleets, your airplanes, fighters, bombers, all of that stuff. And hopefully this will reflect better the difficulties that, for example, the German army had when invading the vast lands of Russia, since in the current versions of the game, the German Reich crashes the Soviet Union quite easily, and we have this quite ridiculous German Reich that stretches from ocean to ocean, and with the introduction of fuel, hopefully we will see less of that. The next feature is the ship builder, which will allow you much easily to react to changing situations at sea. It will allow you to change the ships that you have instead of having to build completely new ships. This is quite a good feature for smaller nations that don't have as much resources to put to build entirely new ships. One thing that I would like to mention is that we had a similar feature in Hearthstone 3 actually. Although this feature was less user-friendly than the Hearthstone 4 one, it still allowed us to do pretty much the same thing. Ultimately, this is another feature that will make the game a bit more complex, a bit more challenging perhaps, and will reduce frustration when it comes to changing situations and the player's ability to react to those situations properly. Next one are the Admiral traits and skills. So this feature will allow Admirals to become the same as the Field Marshals and Generals that we have for our land armies. Quite a welcome addition, I have to say, and to be honest, I'm not really sure why they weren't like this from the beginning, since they function very similar to the way that normal commanders are handled. I would love to see this feature as a free feature or as part of a patch rather than being tied to the expansion. But that's probably not going to happen, since many of these traits have a lot to do with the new systems introduced in Mend the Guns. So if you want to have these admirals that you can customize that have a bit more detail to them than the vanilla ones, you'll have to purchase Mend the Guns. Another quite significant naval feature is the introduction of naval terrain types. So as you know, up until now we only had terrain on land, and that affected combat quite significantly. So for example, fighting in an urban terrain is not the same as fighting on plains. And now there is a similar system for naval provinces as well. So as far as I can tell, we will have 6 types of naval terrain. There's the regular ocean, terrain that has no special effects. There are fjords and archipelagos that have some big penalties for large ships. Deep oceans will not be good for smaller ships, but will be a great hunting grounds for submarines. Shallow seas, in which it will be quite difficult to maneuver, and also not a very good place for submarines. And we also have Arctic waters, which is in general not a good location to operate a fleet in. And for example, if a ship is hit, you will have much more casualties. There also seem to be some interesting modifiers, like for example, you have places that have sharks in them. So that will obviously also increase the casualties. To summarize, this is a very nice feature, which I think should be extended to other Paradox games as well, and I can't wait to see how it affects gameplay. The two last naval features that I would like to mention are mines and naval access. So mines allow you to mine sea provinces to prevent enemy ships from moving through those areas or to damage them. And to be honest, I've read the developer diary for this one, and I'm not sure how I feel about this. I mean, mines are obviously, or were, a big deal and are still a big deal in naval warfare. But one thing that concerns me is how the AI will actually use them, and somehow I get the feeling that it will not be so good at using them, but maybe I'll be proven wrong. Another reason why I worry is that this is another addition that creates the need to micromanage things, and to be honest, we have quite a lot of that in Hearts-Iron 4 as is, and Mendegans will add a couple more features, so I'm not sure that if we are actually getting enough benefits or if this is something that players will actually bother with. I do see some of its benefits, but well, like I said, I'm on the fence with this one, so I'm not sure how good it will be. We'll just have to see when the game is released. Another thing is naval access. Now this is a very nice addition to the game that will actually reduce micromanagement and will allow you to select where your fleets can go, right? So for example, if there are sea zones where you know that enemy submarines are located in and are constantly damaging your convoys, then you can just select that sea zone and let your convoys know that they should not travel through there. Managing transports and convoys is quite a headache in Hearts-Iron 4 so far, so I'm very hopeful that this feature will reduce the need for micromanagement on that level significantly and should make the game more fun. Now let's talk about a non-major naval feature that will be introduced in Mendegans. I'm talking of course about the governments in exile. This is a feature that we also had in Hearts-Iron 3, but it was implemented quite badly and I don't think anyone actually enjoyed this feature or played it properly. So it'll be interesting to see if it's a success in this one. So governments in exile form when democracies fall fighting non-democratic powers. One example for this is Poland. So once Poland falls to the Axis powers, they can form a government in exile. And the more you fight, the more legitimacy you have. Legitimacy determines how acceptable your government in exile is to the world, and the higher your legitimacy is, the more benefits you will get. This is quite a good way to prevent players from surrendering right at the beginning of wars to save manpower or to do other stuff like this. So you will have to fight all the way to the end to get high legitimacy if you know that you can't win. As mentioned in the development diary for governments in exile, this feature will probably be more interesting to play and more popular in multiplayer than single player, and should be interesting to see if players rage quit or if they will actually give this a try until they liberate their country back from the one that conquered it. And now for smaller changes to the game, although I guess it's a matter of opinion. So we get 4 new focus trees in the game, one for the United States, one for Mexico, the Netherlands, and for the British Empire. Now these focus trees seem to be quite extensive and quite complex, which is a good thing. In general, I'm not very excited about focus trees as additions to the game, since these can also be done by players, but in these ones there was a lot of thought put into them. and they should be quite fun. Now I won't go into too much detail about these since I want to explore them myself as well and don't want to spoil them. But in general, it seems like these focus trees are on the same high level and standard as the other features in Mend the Guns, and that is a very good thing, considering the fact that we had quite shallow focus trees before. One thing that I would like to say is that I'm quite disappointed that we've got Mexico and not a country, for example, like Poland or the Soviet Union, that took a much more active part during this time period. Hopefully we will see focus trees for the Soviet Union and for Poland, perhaps one for Spain as well, since currently Spain is the first country that actually has an active war in the game, but still doesn't have its own focus tree, which is a bit absurd. Another addition that was announced in the last development diaries for Mend the Guns was AI plans. So this is quite an interesting feature, and I think this is an indication that Paradox are very determined to extend the replayability of Hearts of Iron 4, and that's quite a good thing. I think that most of us like Paradox games, since no matter what game we play, either Hearts of Iron or Stellaris or Europa Universalis, the good thing about it is that no game is similar to another game that we played, and that's what makes them fun, right? AI plans will allow you to choose how the AI behaves when it comes to the focus trees, and you can choose which path the AI will take, and that can lead to, I think, funny, chaotic, or weird results. Ultimately, it will probably be quite fun to see how the AI reacts. I do think that there will be gaps. For example, the Soviet Union, which has the standard focus tree and is not really built to respond to various actions from Japan. It will be quite interesting to see how those two will mix together. But ultimately, this is quite an interesting addition to the game, and personally, I can't wait to try it and see how things play out. And last but not least, for you achievement whores, a lot of new achievements will be coming with Mend the Guns. Now, I'm personally not somebody who goes after achievements or who cares about achievements, but Mend the Guns will be adding some really fun ones. A few notable ones are, for example, an achievement that requires you as the United States to drop a nuclear bomb on Paris. Another one requires you to win the second United States Civil War against the Confederacy, and another one called Do You Mind, which asks you to lay at least 1,000 mines in the coastline of an enemy country. So that is it, guys. These are the main features that I wanted to mention about Mend the Guns. There are a couple more that I didn't mention, and you can look at the dev diaries if you want to explore all of them. Mend the Guns will be released next week, and a small disclaimer, this expansion is the one that made it clear to me that it's time to go back to modding, and I'm very happy to be modding this game. And with the new features that we have in this expansion, no doubt any mods for Hearts of Iron 4 will get even better and more fun to play. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I will see you in the next video, lesson, or tutorial on the Iron Workshop. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hey guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Check out these other videos on the Iron Workshop that you might enjoy as well. Please consider supporting the Iron Workshop on Patreon. This will allow the channel to grow and become even better. Thank you.